Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Explore with Asim. Today, we are going to talk about how to turn your passion into an entrepreneurship, build business around it. And I have a very special guest for this. Hello, Sagar. How are you doing today?
Hello, Asim bhai. Thank you so much for calling me, and I'm honored that you are starting off your new endeavor, which is converting your passion into your profession, perhaps, which is
Yeah.
of podcasting with me. So, thank you.
All right. I'll just give a quick intro about Sagar. Sagar is a great chess player. He is an international master, and he started this company ChessBase India way back, I think, in 2015, and it's now one of the biggest chess media brand across the world, not just India. So we are going to talk to him about his journey, how he was a very passionate chess player and how he turned it around and started building a business around it. So first question, Sagar, to you would be, so this section I call like to call explain like I'm 5 year old. So what is ChessBase India?
I think main thing that ChessBase India does is to service the chess ecosystem, to basically grow the chess ecosystem that is there. So any thing that is valuable to the community starts having various things inside it. There are the players, there are the organizers, arbiters, tournaments, trainers, and at some point we realized that we have to be that thing which services the entire ecosystem and makes it grow. कि अगर if it is this much, we make it grow this much. And I think that is how ChessBase India functions. Our tagline is powering chess in India, and we try to live with it.
Okay, that's very thoughtful actually. So back in time, imagine it's like 2014, 2015, you are a really good chess player. You have two GM norms. You have just won the biggest tournament of your life in Germany, I believe. And then
Yes.
now you are starting to make this transition. I think ChessBase India was founded in 2015. So
Yes.
what were the initial thoughts, or what were your thoughts at that time that, transforming from a chess player to an entrepreneur at that time?
To tell you the truth, right now, the way I look at entrepreneurship, I did not understand it back then. It was more coming from this fact that there was a need for something and we need to find some solution for it. And it was also stemming from that there is something lacking, can we fill that gap? So if I say what I was thinking back then would be much different from how I look at it now with all my knowledge that I have gathered over the last 8 years. But if I go back to 2015, I was a chess player who was very passionate about chess, wanted to become a grandmaster, which is the highest title there. And somewhere, one thing that was very much strongly embedded in me was the feeling of sharing my experiences with people and using social media for it, or using my blog. I had a blogspot.com. It was sagarteacheschess.blogspot.com. So I loved sharing things. So whatever I would learn, wherever I would go, if someone said something nice to me, I really loved to write about it. And I think it was that thing which really led to ChessBase India growing and kind of people connecting with it, because wherever we went we tried to give that story out. But there were two things which really we saw was missing in chess. One was that there was never really any coverage about chess events in any media. Or let's say today I play a beautiful game, no one is there to write about it, no one is there to take even a picture about it. So that Amruta and I felt very strongly. Like when I asked Amruta, she became a national under 16 champion, show me a picture of it. She shows me a picture with a trophy, and that's the only picture she has. There's nothing else from that time. So we thought that if someone can document these things, because we found it important, we found that people are giving their life to it, people are giving their energy to it, and someone needs to understand that. We don't expect mainstream media all the time कि हाँ वो लोग cover करेंगे. जैसे maybe let's say newspapers like Times of India, Hindu, everyone keeps talking about why are they not covering chess for a long time,
Yeah.
they were saying. So I think that was a gap which we wanted to fulfill. And the second one was that whenever someone played chess in India and wanted to get better, the basic technological things were missing. ChessBase, then books, and all of these. So we wanted to fill that gap in, and that is how these two things combined together, and ChessBase India began back in the day.
Wow. And then you mentioned that now you look at it very differently. So now this was past Saga. So how does today, present Saga, look at it?
Now I think that this was all meant to be. Yeah, what happened? Back then it was like, bhai, this is too much of pressure, that I'm going through, because you never know what you're doing is right or not. I had one kind of a vision about my life since a very long time. Like, let's imagine I fell in love with Amruta and we got into a relationship in 2008. Yeah. And for years and years, we were talking about this vision of building our chess life together, traveling to different places, maybe having our own academy, becoming stronger players, and so on. And suddenly, here comes something which is totally unexpected that we just out of the blue thought, let's do it. So we definitely had to realign. And somewhere the thought was, what about our vision, which was to do all of these things, which was to travel to tournaments, play chess. And I think that was a phase where we both were unsure about what is going to happen. Are we going to give up? Is our chess suffering as players?
Yeah.
Is this company actually going to become anything, is it going to become sustainable? Because there was really very hardly any revenue or anything that was being generated, and that was never the thought also.
Yeah.
So this, when I look back at that time, I do remember a lot of questions and doubts about this, because life was moving in one direction. Life as a chess player is tough. It's not easy to become a grandmaster, but it was predictable. It was something that I had thought through. But here came a new phase where everything new was happening.
That's great to hear. So, you mentioned that you were pretty uncertain when you started on this journey, So there are two questions I wanted to ask you on this. First was, what were your kind of guiding principle, or what philosophy you had in mind that made sure that you are into this for the next 10 years? Even though you don't see the revenue coming or you don't see the numbers and you're uncertain, but what was guiding you at that time?
I think one of the things which I spoke to one fellow entrepreneur and I asked him, like, how do you hire people? And he mentioned to me that I hire those people who resonate with what we are doing, but more importantly, if there is a problem that they have faced in their life and have solved, or let's say at least attempted to solve it, and that is something we want, then that's the best thing. And I think one of the major things that resonated with me was the fact that back in 2015, I had already spent 15 years trying to get better at chess. So I had explored the entire ecosystem very closely as a player, maybe a journalist, as a coach. I also used to teach, and I knew it very well, and I knew that what are the things I liked, what are the things I disliked, and so on. So when it came to ChessBase India, I could relate to the issues of people very closely. When someone would say, we are not getting good trainers, or when someone would say, we want to go and play tournaments outside India, but we have no real way to plan it. Or, when someone would say, I don't have money to play, we need sponsorships or scholarships. All of this, I could relate very quickly and then could find solutions for it. So that was, I think, one of the big advantages, and one of the guiding principles even now is how we can add value to the lives of others in the chess ecosystem that we live in. I think there was this very famous entrepreneur whom we had met. Um, he has this brand of Kamat restaurants, and also this 5-star hotel Orchid, Vitthal Kamat, I think. And he had said 3 words, which was map, gap, and tap. Like he said these 3 words. He was just talking, and I remember this very clearly. So you basically map your what you want to do, find the gap, and then tap into it. And perhaps I never thought this way, but this is what happened perhaps in our journey.
Oh, that's nice. I guess since you were involved in the ecosystem from 15, 20 years, you have been playing chess since your childhood. So you were able to relate with all sorts of different aspects of it from end to end, like as a chess player, then as a coach, as a organizer of tournaments. So all these different personas you were able to kind of relate with it.
Yes, and it has its set of downsides also, because when you are deeply into some kind of a profession, then you are not able to come up with new ideas and solutions. Because that was a challenge at some point to think differently, and perhaps that is what till date continues to be my main thing. Like I know a lot of things, I know how things work, but how can I sit back now and see a problem in a different way and find a solution which has not been existing, or at least not to my knowledge there, and try to figure that out.
Oh, that's nice.
Back in the day, I was not thinking all of this. Back in the day, it was more like, okay, here's a problem. What's the solution? If it is out there, let us bring it to India. Let's try to implement it.
And then the second part to this question was there any specific milestone that you remember, like maybe a number, like maybe hitting 1 million on YouTube, for example, like which gave you validation that, okay, whatever I'm doing is right, I'm on the right track?
I think there were many little milestones. I remember one of the things which happened back in the day was when Harika had played some tournament. It was World Cup, and she came back and she came to the airport and she had won the bronze medal, and no one was there to pick her up. And we had made a post, and I think the number was some 282 shares of that post on Facebook. And I was so proud of it, like I made a post saying, look at the number of shares here, 282. Wow. This is what ChessBase India stands for, that we want to basically spread chess awareness and all of it. So I'm sure that at different points, there were different things which validated us, that, we are on the right track. I remember there was one day where in 2019 it was perhaps, or 2020, I don't recollect, but 2019, that we went to World Rapid and Blitz, and then some of the videos went so viral in that, like millions of views in a day. And Amruta and I were walking and we were thinking, oh my God, is this how things will really be, that we can get so many views in a day? And of course, then comes this realization that this is not going to happen every day. That was a very special period, those 2-3 days or a week that we had. But there were moments like these which made us believe that what we were doing is really something that a wide base of audience is interested in. And 1 million was, of course, a very special number on our YouTube channel. So even that thing, now I think we will hit 2 million perhaps very soon. But the milestones have become, as you keep achieving milestones more and more, they become less important. And what becomes more important are the stories. Like a story of someone whom you have managed to help, whether be it a player or be it someone who works with you, and their life is impacted in a positive way.
Do you think those sort of, like now you are at that stage that you don't look at numbers but these stories and the impact you are making? Has it changed? Like, did you ever crave for numbers when you were starting?
Oh, for sure. Huge. I think very few people are I don't know what word to use. I would say enlightened, that they focus on the on the journey than the numbers. And this is what I always think, that right now maybe it's very easy for me to, not very easy, still not easy, but I would say relatively I can do this often, where I can see at a thing and say, okay, this thing really resonates with what I want to do, and I don't care about the revenue out of it, the numbers, or anything of that sort. We need to do this. But back in the day, I doubt if this is the only way that I could think, because you are constantly worried that whether you will be able to sustain, to survive. There's this thing where you have to prove that, oh, this what you are doing makes sense. And I do feel that there was a phase where we wanted a lot of external validation in terms of numbers, in terms of subscribers, followers, but also in terms of what people thought about us. It was very important. In fact, these comments on social media used to impact me very heavily. I remember someone, when I launched ChessBase India, had written, good that you made ChessBase India so that now ChessBase can be spam free from all the things that you keep writing, the global website.
Yeah.
And I still remember, because it impacted me very heavily at that point. So perhaps it's not easy for someone to really skip this journey of being attached to numbers and outcomes, and then reach this place where you are. And I think I am relatively in that space now. Perhaps if someone can do that right from scratch, that is like pure genius or brilliance, I would say. And in this regard, I feel like there's one guy who I feel does this all the time, and that is Pragnananda, who's the chess player. I see him as someone right from a very young age. He would never be too depressed when he would lose, nor be too happy when he won. And you can see many times when he was little, winning a trophy and just standing like this. But when you would call him, come, let's play something, and then he would be so excited and he would play. So this attitude and approach of enjoying what you do and focusing less on results, some are really trained with it from a young age. Like maybe his coaches told him this, his parents told him this, and that really went deep into his mind. And I think that if goes into an entrepreneur as well, maybe he or she would create something different.
Yeah. I feel like even with Gukesh, like when he lost to Ali Reza, when his time ran out and he got checkmated, but he made a tremendous comeback. So something to learn from these chess players as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, resilience, never give up, all of these things you can definitely learn from a lot. But yeah, this non-attachment to results, I think very few players have.
Okay, so we kind of started talking about the early part in 2015, how you moved from being a chess player to starting ChessBase India. But I wanted to now shift a little bit of our conversation towards you being as a founder and an entrepreneur. So more direct questions around that. So first question would be, in general, what do you feel like are your biggest 3 responsibilities as a founder?
Okay. I'm always a little bit apprehensive when numbers come like 3 or something. But as on today, if I think about it, I feel like creating the right environment where people can showcase their skills and where the best skill set comes out of me as well. So I think this is one of my primary things, that I want to create a culture in my organization or in the company where everyone can express themselves fully. And that requires a lot of work on yourself, and that in order for you to live a life that way. So this is one of the things that deeply I feel these days. The other responsibility, which I have never really thought about it very deeply, but I am sure it would be, is to make sure that we have a steady revenue that's flowing in. like it's something, somehow you've been lucky as ChessBase India that something has come up at the right time, like YouTube picked up at the right time, or some sales of certain products picked up. So you never really had to worry about revenue, or we always grew our team steadily, step by step. So, but I think in my head, I'm always making sure that we don't have to remove any person because of lack of funds. So that is, I think, an ingrained thing that I must make sure. And moment something goes really bad, like let's say something collapses, some product stops selling, or some revenue drop happens, perhaps I would get switched on. So maybe that is one more thing that I do unconsciously. I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And what else? I think
It's okay. We don't have to
creating,
like do three things.
yeah,
Just
just creating things of value in the ecosystem. Like one of the things which I strongly, and I keep saying this again and again, not just as empty words, but truly, is to grow chess, like grow chess as an ecosystem. And I feel that the way in which an entrepreneur will think when he has to grow an ecosystem will be different from the way he would think if he has to grow his own organization. So let's imagine that someone says that if I say that I want to grow chess, then certain decisions have to be taken differently at the key moments. When you are put to pressure, put to test in certain
yeah.
negotiations, you would do it differently. So I strongly feel that this role resonates with me much more, and I believe that once the ecosystem grows, everyone grows through it. So like how do you say it? This rising tide lifts all the boats. I truly believe in that. So I want to work more on growing the ecosystem than just my organization.
Right. You mentioned an interesting thing. I feel like the what you mentioned was point number 3 and point number 2. So growing chess and then revenue. For you, I feel like you focus on growing chess more, but revenue then becomes like a byproduct. But in general, like when you were starting and revenue was not there as much, how were you managing the financial aspect? So the idea being that if someone wants to start pursuing their passion, build a business around it, how should they approach the financial aspect of it?
Yes. I think one of the things which helped us was the existing brand of ChessBase, that they had their products which were already widely accepted since many years. So when we decided to start ChessBase India and brought their products to India, some people were already interested to buy them. So we never had to find an investor or invest our own money into it. Although we invested a lot of our time, energy, and resources without having a salary for, I think, I don't know how long was that period, maybe couple of years for sure, where we didn't draw a salary at all. So we were doing other things and earning. And ChessBase India, we had our first employee whom we were paying a salary. And so this sale of products really helped. I think there's this very nice book of Nike, Shoe Dog.
Shoe dog, yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that the story is a little similar. He built something huge, yeah, in terms of Nike.
Yeah.
But he had started with this brand called Onitsuka, and he went to
Yeah.
Japan. He spoke with them, then became a distributor in the US, and then he had this huge problems of building a team and so on. And I think we faced the same issues. Like I had no clue of what it meant to nurture team members. I had no clue that, oh, this is how you can build things, because I'm not an MBA, or I'm not someone who's ever done a job or ever run a company as well, ever. So I came from this background of playing chess, and chess is a very individualistic endeavor. You sit and do that way. So I feel like the way in which we started off was all wrong moves, but with the right intention. So If someone experienced saw us struggling in that period, they would come and tell us like, hey, what are you doing? Like you can do this. But I would not understand anything. I think it's those experiences which made me despair, really question ki what am I doing? Why is this happening to me? Is what led to that growth as an entrepreneur. That, I understand this now. This is valuable, that if someone you are paying a salary for, paying money for per article basis, vis-a-vis you pay a salary, what are the differences there? And why should one thing be better than the other thing? And you always feel at the core that when you are starting off and you don't have enough money, that you pay as a freelancer to someone, because they will, if you don't have money, you say, okay, don't work now. You feel comfortable, but it has its downsides. And this I could not understand back then, and there were many things which I learned as the time went by.
Okay. And thanks for sharing your personal views on it and personal story. I like the questions are generic, but you are kind of tying it with your own experience, which is great.
Yeah, I also want to be very honest and upfront in this, because I feel like that's the best way for me to be spending this time. Like I have nothing to gain by just showing myself as a perfect person or in that way.
Okay, coming to another question. So today, like how do you spend a day in your life? Like if we divide it into morning, afternoon and evening. So A, and then B is like, how do you generally approach time management? Because as a founder, you have like 10 different things to do.
This is something which also has evolved a lot. And, I used to make lists. I used to tick them off. Amruta was very, very, my wife basically, she was very, very keen that I maintain an Excel sheet with everything that is left to be done. And then when I finish it, to mark it in green, or, like all of these things we have like had so many discussions. And even now, there are so many things that are pending which need to be done and so on. So at some point you realize, like till a point you have this thing, you have 10 tasks to do, and then you tick them off and you feel good. And then comes a point when everything's growing so rapidly that those tasks increase to, let's say, 30, 40, 50. And then you still have this mindset that I want to get it all ticked, but it's physically impossible to do it. So then every night you go to bed thinking tomorrow will be the day when I'll finish everything. And then it so happens that day after day it goes by and you are unable to finish your tasks. And you keep feeling this very incomplete feeling that you don't get that high that I've completed everything. And I think I went through that for quite some time and then became at peace with it, that basically you can't complete everything, or you will have a team who will do certain things and so on. Now what has happened to me, and perhaps this is interesting, could be the more spiritual answer to my time management issue, is for me it has become more important on how I do things more than what I do. And this is, let's say, if I focus on what, then I would say, this is my core expertise and this is what someone else should do, this I shouldn't do. Correct? In general, it's good to think this way, and everyone thinks this way. But the moment when some work comes to you, how do you think? And I think if, let's say, some work has come to me which was someone else had to do, then I really try to enjoy it. How I do is very important for me now. It's something which is my personal journey of how I spend every hour in the day or every moment in my life. What is my mindset like? So when it comes to, let's say, just few minutes ago, when it came to filling water, earlier it was one of the most boring tasks. So I would basically think, what is the way in which I can fill water in these bottles and my thing, and make the best use of that. But now I feel like, how can I best do that task which is there efficiently? So it has this mindset of doing anything that you do well is making is how I want to spend my time. So I don't really focus too much now on morning what should I do, afternoon what should I do, evening what should I do. Yeah. I don't know,
It's
maybe it happens at an unconscious level that I know what are my priorities, that this is what I have to do, these are the meetings that I need to do. But then something unexpected happens, it doesn't bother me that, hey, this was not planned, or this was something
yeah.
that I didn't have to do, and why do I have to do it now? Earlier I used to get these thoughts, oh, this was his role or that was her role, and now I have to do it. How is it, that way.
Nice. So you've moved on from like what are the specific tasks to rather than how you are
Yes.
doing those.
I think one book is very famous of Simon Sinek. Recently, I was talking, which is on why, something like start with why is the name, and I think
Okay.
that we've done a lot in our ChessBase India. That our why is very strong. कि हम क्यों कर रहे हैं? What is the reason we are doing what we are doing? So that is already very firmly established in our minds of me, Amruta, in our team. So why is now no longer a question that I have to deal with. Why am I doing this, or why I am? It's always for the benefit. If something is good for chess, we do it. So now what and how? This. I think how is something which not many people focus on. Perhaps at least I have not read too much on it, but maybe people do it.
Yeah. And I guess it's not even how do I do it perfectly, but how do I make sure that I give my 100%.
What's my feeling or mindset when I'm doing something?
All right. Next question for you is, it's a bit of a generic cliche one, but what are some of the things you enjoy being an entrepreneur?
I think one of the things that I greatly enjoy is that anything can happen on a given day. Like there's no day which is similar to the other. So now with new technological things, like for example, one of my friends has developed this app called Super DM, where people can send a message through that. I always open it like as if it's a box of candy. Who is going to contact me there and for what reason? And I believe, Asim, we also maybe met through you sending an email somewhere, or perhaps you coming at the chess club where we met out of the blue, right? You came, maybe you were following some of the streams.
We met in Dubai.
Oh yes, exactly. We met in
World
Dubai.
Chess, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was out of the blue, right? You came I remember you wearing a mask. I couldn't even see you at that point.
Yeah.
It was the time of the pandemic. Same time, Aditya Roy, who's now a very deep part of our ChessBase India team, came there. And that has led to now this, where we are talking on stream. Think about it, right? Few days ago, we were in Canada and we were covering the candidates together. Before that, we were in Nashik once to cover a tournament. You helped us with reels and building the ChessBase India chess club here. So life is very unpredictable and very exciting. And this is what I really enjoy about being an entrepreneur, that today I am here, tomorrow I can really shift my life 180 degrees in some way. It's very exciting for me.
And looking at like the different side of the same coin, is it like, what are some of the things you don't enjoy being an entrepreneur? It can be the same answer, like the uncertainty, but if you have something.
No,
else.
I'm actually, I think I like uncertainty since a long time now. Maybe one of the things, and now there is really nothing that I dislike. As I said, how is important. So if I dislike something, then perhaps I'm not in the right mindset. But till a point, perhaps I was disliking the fact that I was, like Amruta uses this word, I don't know if it is the word I want to use. It's called workaholic. I would be working all the time and my mind would be filled with a lot of things that were happening. Like you can think of it as there are so many loose ends that are there in the company, and everything is just here. So if I fix one thing, then immediately I'm like, oh, this is remaining. Oh, this is remaining. Oh, I have to talk to that person. And I think that put a lot of pressure on me till some point. But of course, you learn how to deal with these things.
All right. Now we are moving towards like the endish part. Like, so some questions are more towards advice. So I'll start with this. Like, if today someone is really passionate about certain thing and they want to they want to build business around it, what would be like an advice you would give? Maybe an advice which past Sagar would give, a 2015 Sagar, and then what would be an advice which present Sagar would give?
I see a lot of people not starting off something that they are interested in. And my advice, even with past Sagar and present Sagar, is begin. Just start. And you will see that many of the things which you thought were like this will change just because you began. Just for example, you had certain thoughts of starting this podcast, and now when you do the first episode, when it is out, you will have something concrete out there, and then you will think, oh, whether I should put it on this platform, that platform, here it got only this many views, what should I do? Suddenly you are thinking beyond just ideation. So if I had one advice, is to not change everything about your life in a drastic way, but to start what you want to do within the limitations of your existing structures. Like, I know many people want to become a professional chess player, but they have a job or they have studies, and they are all the time thinking, should I leave the job? Should I leave studies? And I say that perhaps begin with the existing limitations you have and see if you really feel inspired in spite of working the entire day, to come back home and practice for 4 hours then. And if that is happening, perhaps it will give you more confidence to take the next step. So this is one advice that I would give. At the same time, with the clear understanding that if someone really believes in something and wants to give up on the other things and pursue it wholeheartedly, that's also a viable approach. It's not like people can't do it at all. Like, for example, Gukesh, for that matter, he was in 5th grade and his family said, he's good at chess, we don't want to continue him going to school or studying. It's quite a tough decision to make when you are not even, let's say, when you are IM strength or something like that. So it worked out, and it works out for some people as well there.
Yeah, I feel like the former approach which you mentioned is starting within your own limitations is a preferred option, and then people do take the drastic measure of leaving everything and getting into one thing, but that would be, I guess, a minority part of it.
Yeah, less
in general.
But I think this first approach is also, there is a third approach where people just keep thinking about it, and the thought itself is so beautiful because it is untouched by reality. And something which is untouched by reality, you can shape it in whatever way you want in your mind. So that is often people don't want reality to corrupt their idea, and that's why they never execute them.
It's like a startup who just talks in revenue, and they don't want to actually they want to always be in pre-revenue, but because then projected revenue can be 1x, 5x, 10x.
Yeah.
All right. Some lighter questions now. Did you experiment with ChatGPT AI?
Yes.
Anything?
I have a premium membership to ChatGPT, which I am underutilizing it heavily. But with it, Gujarati, who is my good friend, convinced me in one car ride from we were going to, I think, Tashkent to Samarkand. We had 7 hours, and he spoke so much about AI in that trip, and I was convinced, and I am still convinced that it is very useful. So
any projects which like you can share with us, like how you are utilizing it?
I think for me, AI is something where Right now, I was just exploring ChatGPT, trying to ask certain questions to it. One of the things which I use it is I'm writing a book with someone, and I use Otter.ai, and that really does a great job of transcribing Zoom meetings and all. So that is a very heavily used AI tool that I do. Um, I think I want to use it more in making thumbnails and and some shorts perhaps right now,
Yeah.
but I'm not using it so much. I think I will at some point, but I'm in this phase. I don't know how many of people think AI, if I use, maybe I'm not using my full potential. Like when there is something that happens, I like to write, and when I write on my own, I feel like, wow, that's nicely written. And when I use AI and it gives me some write up and then I edit it a bit and post it, I don't enjoy it so much. So perhaps it's something that I have to think about, that why do I feel this. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
I
I don't know
remember
if you
you.
also feel like this.
I remember you posted a very kind of emotional post on the day we did the first meetup in Canada. So that is
Hmm.
something definitely AI can't replicate because it had all your emotions. I feel like for more trivial tasks, AI is something can be leveraged. Like for example, for this podcast, I'll definitely use an AI to create like 10 different shots.
Really? You'll do that?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is
because it's
something. Again, it might not give you the best shots. Yes.
yeah, but if I try to spend that time, I'll see how the results are.
Which one
But I
will you
feel it
use,
can.
by the way? Which AI tool will you use for it?
I think this platform I'm using Riverside, they only have this tool, but there are other tools as well which I have looked into. I feel like it won't create maybe a very aesthetic shot or reel which I want, but it can fairly identify, okay, this is a segment, and then it can create, like I asked you 10 different questions, so it will create 10 different shots, and each one of them will start with my question.
Mm.
So maybe it's like a first step, and then I can take it and add more editing or add more content.
True.
All right. This one you'll really enjoy it. What are some of your favorite books? I see you have a
Oh.
big book collection behind.
Massive, massive. In fact, you can see here. I feel right now
Yeah.
the best way for me to utilize money is to buy books. At different phases of my life, I have read books for different things. When I was chess player, I read books because I wanted to get better at chess. Then when the entrepreneurial journey, I had all these questions on how to become a good leader or a good manager or how to run a company. I then bought entrepreneurial books. And now when I'm in this phase of trying to explore my inner self better, then I have moved on to spiritual books, which right now resonate with me very deeply and which makes other books look less important. But Amruta and I, we constantly discuss that every book has its time and place in your life, and uh, I could not have reached at this point where I find some books interesting and others less so without going through those books, which were in midway. So I don't know, if you want, I can show some books, but I guess if I had to remember which books, the fresh books will come, which are the recent ones which I'm reading. But
Yeah,
let
yeah.
me
What
just.
are you reading right now? Maybe you can just share that.
I was reading Think on These Things just today by J. Krishnamurti. I really like him as an author. He talks about many deep things, deep concepts like ambition, cooperation, um, all these things which we have taken, which become very s- sort of standalone words to actually understand the true essence of it. But if I have to go back to the time where entrepreneurial books or this were useful, I thought the one on atomic habits was very good for me. I liked it. I tried to do incremental improvements in my life. Then there was this book by Netflix founder, uh, this it's called
Reed Hastings.
Reed Hastings. It's called do things, something like this. I can figure out Netflix. It's called maybe, what is it? No Rules. Yes, No Rules. I liked
No
that
Rules.
book. Then there was this other book which was It Does Not Have to Be Crazy at Work. This was by the founders of Basecamp. This tool, and it really widened my thinking about how they thought about entrepreneurship, because I never thought about it that way, and I was like, wow, this is also a way to think. I think this amazing book, 7 Effective Habits of what is it? 7
Highly
effective
successful
of
people.
highly successful people. I bought that book and I thought, oh, they will give some 7 habits like time management, all these basic things. But actually, they had very interesting things. And now, when I go back to the book again, I see it in a new light. I think it's a good book to give you some fresh insights. So yeah, these are few entrepreneurial books that I have liked. There are many more. There is one by Howard Schultz on Starbucks story. I liked it. There is 0 to 1. Also, I liked this book. Was nice. There is
Peter Thiel, 0 to 1, I think.
Yes.
I'm reading one book which you might like. Give me a second. I'll pull it up.
Yes. Sure. Oh, nice. The Untold Story of Tim Hortons by the man who created a Canadian empire. Nice.
Yeah.
I would read this. I also feel like people like Tim Hortons is this brand which created a connect with people, right? Of Canada, and how he did it. I would be very interested to read it.
And of course, I got it from, I don't know if you can see.
Yes, Toronto Public Library, opposite which I was staying in Canada, and it's your favorite place to be.
Yeah, I think sometime in future I'll gift you a Kindle maybe. Are you that
Kindle.
sort of person?
No, I have a Kindle. I have, but I don't open it. I love books a lot because I can open it, I can mark it. My books are filled with so many markings, so many notes. Because I just like it. I may not even refer to the notes again, but when I'm reading it, I just enjoy making it all messy. The moment I get a book, my first thing is to open it and read from anywhere. So I never read from the first page. Okay, some books which are story books or something, I would, but I just like to read it from any place, go to any place, mark, then I'm like, okay, this is good, interesting, then move from. So that way, I read books this in very haphazard manner, because I think books are meant to give you knowledge or are meant to give you some insights and not meant to be finished as such. I mean, if you finish it, good, but not necessarily you should finish it.
Oh, that's pretty interesting thought. All right, that's it, Sagar. Thank you so much for your time. I feel like there are so many other things that I need to talk to you about, but we'll do another separate
Maybe
episode.
part 2, yes?
Yeah.
Part 2 after your podcast becomes the most popular one, and then I can come back looking back on the first episode or something.
Yeah. No reaction video on first episode.
Yeah, but congrats, Asim, for doing this, and all the best to your journey here. I'm sure you will bring in many interesting people to your podcast, and I'll be following.
Yeah, it's like all the things you mentioned. Don't keep this idea in your head. I've kept it for a long time, so I'm happy that it's starting. And B, there was this gap which I saw, like there's so many content on YouTube, but I feel like something is still missing in terms of which I found, like I'm a product manager, but if let's say today someone wants to become a product manager, there's no concrete video which actually talks about what is it that you have to do in that job, and then what is it, how to get into it, how to crack your first interview, things around those. So I think
I was also thinking about this, Asim, and this is just a thought that when I was trying to get better as an entrepreneur, I saw no books or any material which spoke very clearly what is the way. And now that I've become better at it, I feel I cannot write that book. So, this is the conundrum, because to go back and think of those problems. So, maybe the best idea is to actually, when I was grappling with these issues as a beginner, I should have written it all down. And with my renewed understanding, to answer those questions. But maybe there are such books where people have done these things.
Did you write blogs about those? You might
No,
have.
I've written in some notebooks. Amruta has them. We used to call it CEO diaries, where I wrote about these really intensely tough decisions that were happening, where I was like, this also seems like a wrong answer. This also seems like a wrong. There are upsides for this. There are upsides for this. There are downsides for this. There are downsides for this. What to choose? And then I would write down these things. And it's good. It's a lot like a chess game of a weaker player, where they are analyzing and saying, oh, this position is like this and so on. And the grandmaster is saying, you don't understand things so deeply. And perhaps when I open up this notebook in future, I haven't read it recently, I might say, oh, but the answer to this was pretty simple. This has to be done this way. But at that point, really, I couldn't figure out things.
Maybe you will write a book, yeah? Just put those notes on otter.ai and then
Something like that.
you'll
Yes.
be an author.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sagar.
Thank you, Asim.